welcome Ben, Olivia and Katie. You're all in different parts of the country. Oh no, two of you are in London and one in Bristol, I believe. Just tell us what you're up to, because you are kind of the team behind Rethink 2025's winning entry, Get Everyone In. And it'd be interesting to know sort of where your backgrounds. Are you working? Are you students? So Ben.
So I graduated last year from the University of Liverpool. I'm working as a Part 1 at Shepherd Robson in London.
Right. And Olivia, you're also in London?
Yeah, I also graduated from Liverpool University and I'm working at Shed KM in London, also as a Part 1.
So Katie, you're elsewhere, but you know Ben from earlier times.
Yeah, so me and Ben are school friends. So I'm currently in lovely Bristol. I'm studying at UWE. So I'm halfway through my Part 2. So yeah, due to go back in September.
So you've come up with a really interesting idea. You're marrying redundant office space with creating new homes for the homeless. And into it, you've put quite a mixture of things, not just rooms to sleep in, but kind of gardens and social services too. Can you just tell us, Olivia, a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I think our main focus was looking at how we can utilise kind of the fallout from COVID-19, so how this space can be used for homelessness, because that's kind of an issue that has slightly been ignored during this, because obviously a lot of people have been occupied with trying to provide for that. So basically the main focus was what will happen with this space and how it can be used for kind of the greater good of society.
So Katie, it solves some problems in quite a strategic way. Give us an idea of the issues behind it.
Yeah, so obviously the rising homelessness issues and the most vulnerable are truly affected by this pandemic. So we sort of could notice this shift in values, sort of the passion of people like helping to create scrubs for the NHS and communities really coming together, helping out their neighbours. So how we could sort of harness this people power that we're feeling and use this energy to try and build up and create a better functioning society that actually works for everybody instead of the few.
So we also have huge amounts of redundant office space. Ben, tell us about that. I mean, it's going to be a catastrophe, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think, I don't know when this will go out, but we've noticed that John Lewis are closing loads of its main stores. Me and Katie are from Birmingham. The main John Lewis store in Grand Central, flagship store, that's going. What's going to replace it? Well, the answer is nothing for the moment. And central business districts, Canary Wharf, these huge business bailouts that Rishi Sunak provided during the pandemic, 103 billion in one go. We've got a recession coming, and we've noticed that the capabilities of work from home have actually benefited a lot of people. The office environment isn't perfect. There is a hybrid that can be realised, and I think there's a way to capitalise on that for this kind of happy medium benefit.
And Katie, your entry drew attention to the fact that we can solve things that have been seen to be intractable problems. So like homelessness, I mean, it's been around for a long time. It has got worse over the last decade or so, but nobody's really quite managed to crack it. And suddenly we saw it, people who are homeless being offered beds for the night.
Yeah. So, I mean, all of us have found it incredible how the seemingly impossible has always been made possible through this pandemic. So why can't we actually achieve that now going forwards? So I guess sort of how we can create more of a circular approach through proposals of this sort. So it's more than just a house, more than a roof over the head. We've got sort of a stable environment that's recovery orientated as well, and creating more strong, stable society as a result of that.
So you did a useful axonometric that sort of showed how one might split up an office floor. Office floors are obviously quite problematic. They're very deep often. They maybe have one or two cores with some maybe some escapes. So I thought what was really interesting is the way that you kind of plan, say, the top level. I'm calling it the penthouse for those who are homeless, with lots of rooms around the outside, and then kind of had more social space in the darker core of the, or sort of around the sort of centre of the plan. And then tell us what you had on lower floors, because I think that was also interesting. You're not just saying this is about a hostel, you're saying it does a lot of other things too.
Yeah, so there's a few, you know, key things that make this potentially feasible. So as you're talking about the residential floors at higher level, they have perimeter rooms for the actual habitable areas, which makes a lot of sense. Social areas around the commons areas, that makes a lot of sense, especially with homeless people's lifestyles. They have their own community and it's very strong. We've known for ages that isolation is a real issue in homelessness. People walk past them, ignore them. So it's providing a sense of community within their new neighbourhoods. And then further down where we have the office space, there is a need to separate the two, residential and office workers, for safety, for use of the building, and just to kind of protect homeless people from people coming in and out with new viruses. So splitting cores into residential or office, or up and down. We were proposing kind of a medical floor where you get your temperature checked. All these kind of issues, potentially, you know, large open green spaces, naturally ventilated. They're all key in ensuring that this environment could be feasible and work for both demographics that occupy the building.
I was struck by the very basic sustainability of the programme as well, which is not, it's not that you've kind of put green things in there, which is lovely to see, and plants, but it's more about the reuse of existing buildings. I mean, while we're talking about, you know, planning, possible planning changes, talking about, you know, you've got permission to knock down anything as long as you put houses there, and you think about the way that the efficiency of a tower block is works. It's not efficient to put 2-bed, you know, 2 up, 2 down kind of houses in there. You need to have, you know, you need to be reusing that space. It's a huge amount of space, but you don't want to be doing tiny little mean places to live. And you've actually thought that through as a communal space. I mean, did you consider doing something that was a new build?
I don't think we actually ever really considered that, to be totally honest. I think as a group, our most logical conclusion was that this is something that needs solving, and it's not going to be solved through building a load of new housing. I think the best way to get around anything is to use the resource that you have. And I think especially during coronavirus, that is being totally proven, that as like a community, we've come together and used the resources that we have around us to provide the best for the community. So I don't think it was ever really a thought.
And in terms of the climate emergency, it's actually, you know, spot on, reusing what you've got instead of chucking away a load of concrete and starting with some more bricks or something. So that's really, yeah, it's really telling, I think. So it looks like a you know, cheap and cheerful, we can make it work, quick solution. Would it be that easy? Ben, I think you were going to talk to us about barriers and how it might be implemented.
I think one thing that we found really quite important, especially looking at previous social housing schemes, especially in the modernist era, is that whilst they fundamentally are the right thing to do and they're looking in the right way, the use of just the cheapest materials, quickest build time as possible to help the economy actually detracts from the sense of wanting to live there. So we were thinking more of a kind of a pathway system. So they might be nicer materials and more homely, and they might have floors that are dedicated to education, you know, teaching people skills, reintegration into the community, these kind of things. And once you spend enough time there, you might feel more comfortable to reintegrate back into the wider community. So it's more of a pathway thing, not just a we're putting housing and you stay there forever. That's not what the scheme's about. But like Kate said earlier, we noticed that all the red tape that's been around for ages has all been torn down, and it just proved that it wasn't an impossible task. It was a reluctance and a lack of drive to do it. And that whilst it's all been torn down and everything's slowly resettling, this is the platform to take that momentum that we saw and start fixing some of the bigger societal issues, and then reset it all with some real proper engaging social schemes in place.
Thank you. That is a really powerful way to end this, and I do hope those who are involved in kind of working out what to do with these redundant buildings, the landlords and the planners and the councils and the government, will listen to your ideas. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.